Natural enthusiasm, that's the whole thing. It's the greatest thing in the world, natural enthusiasm. You're nothing without it. And in the latrines for to clean them out. Well, if I had a job to do, even if it was scrubbing the floor, I wanted my floor to be cleaner than yours. Now, if everybody thinks along these lines and does all the small jobs to the best of their ability, that's...
Dennis Law.
Bill Shankly was a mentor for me. He was the one that sort of brought me into the game, really, and then showed me all the things that should be done as a player, etc. So he was a tremendous influence in my life.
Bill Shankly was a man carved from intensity, a figure whose very presence could lift a stadium and calm a storm. He walked through life with a fire that never dimmed, a stubborn belief that football was more than a game, it was a lifeline, a purpose, a calling written into his bones. To the people of Liverpool, he was more than a manager. He was a symbol of hope rising from hardship, but behind the roar of the crowd and the certainty in his voice, there was a fragility no one ever saw, and the truth of how his life would eventually end remained far from the minds of those who adored him. In every decision he made, Shankly poured in a level of devotion that bordered on sacrifice, refusing to slow down or step back even when others urged him to rest. He lived in a rhythm of work, passion, and pressure that most men could never endure. His heart was tied to the city, to the people who lined the streets in red, to the players who looked at him like a father. That bond kept him moving forward even when his own body hinted that it needed a break. But for Shankly, stopping was something he never learned how to do. The legend of Bill Shankly grew beyond football long before his final days. He became a name whispered with respect across Britain, a hero to working-class families who saw their own struggles reflected in his journey. His energy seemed endless, his determination unbreakable, his spirit too strong to ever fade. That was the image everyone held close, the belief that he was invincible. But reality, harsh and unforgiving, had a different plan for him. As the years passed after his departure from Liverpool, something quiet began to change in Shankly's life. He was no longer surrounded by the chaos of match days or the thrill of transforming ordinary players into champions. He drifted into a life without the routine that once defined him. And for a man built on purpose, the absence of structure cut deeper than anyone realized. It was the kind of internal struggle that can go unnoticed until it becomes too powerful to ignore. Friends and former players would later remember his restlessness, the way he seemed to pace through retirement like a lion trapped behind calmness he never asked for. He tried to stay connected to the game, tried to keep the fire alive, but the world around him had shifted. The club he built moved forward, the crowds sang new songs, and time marched on without permission. For a man who gave everything, the silence that followed felt like a cruel punishment. Yet even as he aged, there was still an aura around him, a strength that made people believe he would continue influencing football forever. He appeared in interviews, visited training grounds, shook hands with young fans who only knew him through stories. To everyone watching, Shankly still looked like the giant he always was. But life has a way of striking from behind the curtain where no applause can be heard and no legend can shield you. And so came the final chapter. Quiet, sudden, and deeply heartbreaking. The moment that would bring Liverpool to a standstill and leave millions in disbelief. A moment when the world learned that even the strongest hearts can falter, even the greatest leaders can fall, and even a man like Bill Shankly, invincible in the eyes of many, could be taken far too soon. In the next part, we reveal how his life truly ended at just 68, and why the tragedy still echoes through football history today. Bill Shankly's rise began long before the crowds of Anfield ever chanted his name. After living a life powered by passion and relentless drive, as mentioned in the intro, his journey truly started in Glenbuck, a village that forged his toughness and ambition. Born into poverty, he learned early that nothing would ever be handed to him. Football was his escape, the one place where effort meant everything and excuses meant nothing. That hunger shaped the young Shankly into a player determined to break out of the life he was born into. His professional career began at Carlisle United, where he immediately stood out for his fierce tackling, his leadership, and his understanding of the game far beyond his years. This wasn't just a boy who loved football, this was a young man who saw football as a calling. His teammates and coaches noticed how he moved, thought, and commanded the pitch like someone destined for greater things. That talent soon earned him a move to Preston North End, a club where his name would begin to gain weight across England. At Preston, Shankly became the heartbeat of the team, a relentless right half who never accepted defeat. He won the FA Cup with them and helped lift the club to some of its most memorable moments of that era. But even during his playing years, people could sense he was something more than an athlete. He saw strategies others couldn't, motivated in ways others didn't, and led with a charisma that pushed everyone around him to work harder. It was clear that once his playing days ended, a new path would open. When he retired as a player, Shankly didn't hesitate. He moved straight into management, knowing that the fire within him was nowhere near fading. His early managerial roles at Carlisle, Grimsby, Workington and Huddersfield showed the world that his real genius lay not in boots but in ideas. He rebuilt broken teams, reignited struggling players, and transformed clubs with his uncompromising philosophies. Everywhere he went, his impact was immediate and unforgettable. But destiny brought him to Liverpool in 1959. A club that was crumbling in the second division yet filled with potential waiting to be awakened. Shankly took one look at the club's outdated training ground, broken structures, and lack of belief and made a promise to rebuild everything from the ground up. From the "This is Anfield" sign to the boot room culture, Shankly changed Liverpool not just physically but spiritually. He demanded unity, pride, and hunger from every player who wore the shirt. Under his leadership, Liverpool rose with a force that stunned the nation. Promotion to the First Division, league titles, FA Cups, and unforgettable European nights all came from the blueprint of a man who refused to accept mediocrity. He didn't just manage players, he shaped them. He didn't just win games, he built a dynasty. His philosophies, simple yet powerful, created a football identity that continues to define Liverpool even today. Yet behind the glory, the pressure and intensity continued to drain Shankly in ways the outside world never understood. The emotional weight of carrying a club on his shoulders year after year slowly began to take its toll. And despite his fierce love for the game, he eventually stunned the world in 1974 by announcing his retirement. The fans cried, the players froze in disbelief, and the city felt like it had lost its voice. For the first time in decades, Shankly stepped away from the game that had been his entire life. But retirement did not bring him peace, it brought him heartbreak. Liverpool moved on without him, building on his foundations but no longer leaning on his presence. The club he had rebuilt with his own hands now operated without him, and the distance cut deep. He visited Melwood hoping to stay connected, but the doors, once wide open for him, were no longer the same. Friends said the rejection hurt him more than any defeat he ever suffered on the pitch. This loss, the loss of purpose, belonging, and identity, began to weigh heavily on Shankly's heart. He tried to fill the void with community work, public appearances, and time with fans who still worshipped him. In the final years of his life, Shankly's spirit was still admired, but those closest to him noticed the emotional exhaustion that lingered beneath his smile. The heartbreak of being away from the club he built never fully left him. And then, at 68, the moment came sudden, shocking, and devastating. A heart attack struck him, taking away a man who had given his heart to football until it simply couldn't beat anymore. Liverpool mourned like they had lost a family member. His death left a silence that stretched across the entire city. Crowds gathered, tears flowed, and stories of his greatness filled the streets. He wasn't just remembered, he was honored as a hero whose impact could never be measured in trophies alone. He left behind not just results, but a philosophy, a spirit, and a way of life. Liverpool as a club and as a community was forever shaped by the man whose voice once echoed through every corridor. And so, Bill Shankly's legacy lives on, etched into football history, carried in the hearts of millions, and woven into the identity of Liverpool FC. His ideas shaped managers for generations. His wisdom guided players long after he was gone, and his spirit still stands in the Kop every matchday. His life ended tragically, but his influence never will. Shankly wasn't just a manager, he was the foundation of a dynasty, a symbol of belief, and a legend whose heartbeat still echoes through Anfield today. Even after his passing, the stories people shared about Shankly felt almost mythical tales of a man who could turn fear into strength and doubt into confidence with just a few words. Former players often said that Shankly didn't simply teach them football, he taught them how to live with purpose. His voice echoed in their minds long after his career ended, guiding them through their own struggles. Fans, young and old, repeated his quotes like prayers passed from one generation to the next. It was clear that Shankly's influence stretched far beyond the touchline. The impact of his philosophy could be seen in the managers who followed him, men like Bob Paisley, Joe Fagan, and even modern coaches who studied Shankly's principles as if they were sacred scripture. His belief in teamwork, discipline, and emotional connection became the backbone of Liverpool's success for decades. Even rivals admitted that Shankly changed the way clubs thought about the game. He didn't just elevate Liverpool, he raised the standard for British football altogether. His blueprint shaped eras long after he was gone. Walk through Anfield today and his presence is everywhere, on murals, in the museum, and in the hearts of fans who never even saw him manage a single match. The Shankly gates stand as a permanent reminder of the man who rebuilt the club brick by brick. His famous words, "You'll never walk alone," weren't just lyrics, they became a philosophy of unity he lived by. Every match day when thousands sing it, it feels like Shankly is right there among them. His spirit survives in every chant, every cheer, and every moment of belief. And in the end, that is what makes his story both heartbreaking and beautiful. He died of a broken heart, but he left behind millions of hearts stronger because of him. His life was a testament to resilience, loyalty, and the power of one man's vision to reshape an entire city. Bill Shankly may have taken his final breath long ago, but his influence breathes through Liverpool FC every single day. His legacy doesn't fade with time, it grows, generation after generation, just like every true legend's story should. Bill Shankly's life was a reminder that greatness is never simple. He was a fierce competitor on the field, a man who played with fire in his heart and steel in his soul. His tackles were tough, his words were sharp, and at times he crossed lines that sparked controversy. But behind that intensity was a teammate. Every player trusted a man who lifted others, protected the weaker ones, and built a brotherhood wherever he went. He wasn't perfect, but he was real, and that honesty earned him respect far beyond the applause of any crowd. As a manager, he reached heights few could ever dream of. He built a footballing empire from the dust, shaping Liverpool into a symbol of belief and ambition. Every trophy he lifted carried the weight of his sacrifices, and every cheer from the stands was a testament to the lives he changed. Even when pressure consumed him and conflict surrounded him, Shankly stood firm, driven by a passion that burned brighter than any criticism. His name became more than a signature on history, it became a standard of greatness. His story will always carry a shadow of sadness, especially in the final years when the game he loved drifted away from him. But even in that pain, he never lost his dignity. He never stopped shaking hands with fans, for the club he built with his heart. Shankly's life was a battle, a triumph, and a tragedy all at once, exactly the kind of life that creates legends. And now, every time Liverpool step onto the pitch, every time the cop roars, and every time supporters sing "You'll Never Walk Alone," a part of Shankly rises again. His legacy is not trapped in the past, it's alive in every moment that passion meets purpose. Bill Shankly may have left us long ago, but the world he shaped continues to thrive, echoing his voice, his spirit, and the unbreakable pride he instilled in the city he loved. If you enjoyed this journey through the life of one of football's greatest figures, make sure to like the video, comment your thoughts, and subscribe for more powerful stories about iconic athletes. And if there's a legend you want us to cover next, drop their name in the comments. Your suggestion could be the next story we bring to life.